After.
Oh,
All right.
beautiful.
It did its job.
That was a nice one.
It did its job. That's what's important.
Yes, true.
So, a lot of news stuff in everybody's lives right now.
Yeah.
You had a pretty big thing going on this weekend.
Boy, did I.
Yeah? How's that been going, man? Well, first off, what have you been doing?
Yeah, so I've been moving. I've been moving going on 6 days now.
It's like my least favorite thing to do.
I know.
I might live here forever just so I never have to move again.
Yeah, fair
or
enough.
at least until I'm rich enough to where I could just pay someone else to move everything.
Movers are expensive, too. I mean, even a U-Haul is expensive.
Yeah.
I put 13 miles. That's it. On the U-Haul that we drove. You know how much that was?
$60.
No, good. 40, though.
40?
Yeah. Which is
Is it okay, but did you have to put gas back in it?
Yeah.
So altogether, how much was it?
50.
50?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
And some change.
That's still pricey, dude. 13 miles, $50 just to move some shit.
Yeah, and it's a big box. You know, it's not... They call it a fuel-efficient machine that's aerodynamic. It's a big shoebox.
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
It's
but
a
that...
non-freezer truck.
Exactly. But that was only the last day of the move that we had to do that. The other... So, to give some background for everyone who hasn't been to my apartment, we lived in a tiny studio apartment.
Yeah. Built when?
In 1900, the year 1900.
Yeah, you couldn't sneeze in that place without someone getting pissed.
Yeah, you not only could you not sneeze in that place without someone like literally sending you like an angry text saying keep it down, but on top of that, and
What was your angry neighbor's name? The guy who did always text. He was not bashful about the texting.
no, he was not bashful about the text.
You don't have to get first and last, but
his name, gosh, am I really blanking on his name? I don't remember.
is it Chris?
No.
Paul?
No.
David?
No.
Simon?
Isaac.
Isaac?
Yes.
Fuck you, Isaac.
So anyway, there's a lot of that. But then on top of it, and this is something we only really discovered as we were moving out because we had to clean, and we're still waiting to see if we get our security deposit back.
Good luck. They'll find a way to not give it to you.
Every single place that I've moved out of or other people have moved out of never get a security deposit
Yeah,
back.
no, you never will, dude. It's a scam. It's a scam.
Yeah, which feels illegal for them to do that, but they've been getting away with it for so long now, no one really cares. But we cleaned the crap out of the apartment. And what we found out was, because it's so old and musty, as soon as you turn the AC on, dust blows out of the return. So you can't keep it clean, because it's like 100-year-old dust constantly flowing into the apartment.
Turn the AC off.
Yeah, then it's unbearable, because the windows don't open.
Okay, so did you already turn your keys over?
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. I was
Did
going to
that
say,
today.
before you left, the very last step you took out of there, you should have cleaned up everything or re-vacuumed real quick.
Yeah.
Shut the AC off, and then leave. That way, when they walk in, they
Well-
see that it's clean.
Well, I put it on auto in 70, which should be... It probably won't even kick on right now.
But I hope not.
Yeah. Well, she's going to pick up the keys and stuff tomorrow, so...
One speck of dust, and they'll be like, we had to hire a cleaning service, which cost us $800.
Like, I got on my hands and knees and scrubbed that floor all day today. That was my whole day. And it's painted over wood flooring.
Yeah, it's black paint on wood floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. The windows don't open, which is a violation. There is a AC outlet underneath of the bathtub, which is another huge code violation. And black mold growing outside the door, like in the hallway of the apartment. Anyway.
Aesthetically pleasing. No.
Oh, this is gorgeous. The only thing that was really cool about that one was that we had 2 non-functional fireplaces in the
Yeah.
apartment, and one had brick, like exposed brick. But other than that, the clawfoot tub in the bathroom was really cool.
I am a slut for some exposed brick.
Me too.
Yeah.
Those are the big reasons why we went there, that and the rent and the location, which was really cool because we could walk downtown every day. But all of the problems with it did not, outweigh
Right.
or all the benefits didn't outweigh the problems.
Is that why y'all decided to move?
So we actually decided to move because of, well, the fact that we couldn't work or do anything creative without being,
Bitched at?
And then, yeah, and then, well, and it's funny too because he's got the biggest apartment in the whole place.
Does he own the building?
No.
Okay.
No. But he's been a tenant for 11 years.
Oh, God.
So
Is he married?
Yeah.
He is?
And has a 19-year-old or a 17-year-old kid.
Really?
Yeah, and they all live there. They said that they were trying to buy a house, and that's why they're staying there. Just to save
Buddy,
up.
it's been 11 years, though.
Here's the funny part. Not only that, but they have and I only know this because they stored the box underneath the house where there's a little bit of storage. They have a 70-inch TV, a 4K, crazy expensive TV, and they get packages 4 times a week. So I feel like some of it is just that they spend a lot of money.
Do you know what he does for a living?
I have no idea. I think it's a warehouse job. He was talking to me about it one day, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Who has time to listen to people like that?
Well.
Not me.
So, my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, luckily enough, knew this guy that owns the place that we're at now.
Okay.
And he bought the first 3 townhouses in a development of all townhouses, and he renovated them like crazy. There's really nice laminate floors everywhere. There's tile in the bathrooms, beautiful showers, walk-in closets, bay windows. It's gorgeous.
Cool with the cat and everything?
Not really.
Oh.
So he actually made an exception for us for the cat because we have a homeowners association, and apparently that's it's not a violation, but there's a fee that you have to pay.
Yeah.
And he's been trying to avoid that with all of his tenants. Basically, we convinced him that our cat's well behaved enough that she's not going to do anything to the place.
Well, and I mean, Dutch is
a lazy old
right.
girl.
You don't really have to worry about Dutch's, destroying the...
Well, it was kind of laughable at first because he was like, is she going to spray everywhere? And we were like, well, first of all, she's fixed and she's not a male. So
right.
The idea of her spraying is laughable anyway.
You're such cat people.
I mean...
Cat people, man. Listen to this weeb. Doesn't even know that only male cats spray to mark territory. You fucking loser.
I just feel like that's sort of general knowledge, but maybe not.
Probably not. I mean, I knew it, but...
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing for dogs, too, though. Only a male dog is going to mark their territory.
Yeah, I mean, they're the aggressive ones.
Right.
Well, that's not necessarily true.
Well,
they are typically...
They're territorial.
Yeah, right.
Not necessarily aggressive. But, yeah, so she knew this guy. He's charging way less than he probably should for this property because the rent is only about $400 more than we were paying at the other place.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, and it's... night and day difference.
Yeah.
Cool thing too is it's technically a townhouse, but you walk in and there's so much room that it feels like a normal house. It feels very legitimate.
And you're still close to everything that you want to be close to.
Oh
so,
yeah,
that works out.
We're only 3 minutes away from the apartment, so yeah. I mean, we can still do all the fun social stuff that we did and all of the friends we made and little group that we had, downtown. That's perfectly achievable still, very, very reasonable. We actually probably drive the least distance of anybody that we meet up with down there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, instead of walking, maybe just buy a bike.
So I have a bike. I just moved it over there.
Nice.
And I'm super excited. Actually, when we're done with this podcast, I literally might go home and take a bike ride because it's been 2 years since I've done that.
Dude, I've been thinking about getting a bike.
You should do it.
I'm not going to be I don't want to be a cyclist, though. It's
No.
my thing. I don't want to ride on public roads like that.
Well,
around the
I mean,
neighborhood's one thing.
yeah.
Taking it to a trail, that's one thing.
Yeah.
I don't want to ride my bike on the road.
Well, this is what you should do. You should get a mountain bike that actually has shocks on it, because then you can kind of do off-road stuff and kind of go wherever you want to. Well, because
I'm lazy though. I don't want to ride off-road. It's so much harder.
Well, I mean, it's more comfortable too, even on a normal road, because you can kind of just coast over stuff. I have a road bike, something a cyclist would use. It's
right.
the Ram handlebars, and it's.
I hate it.
You know, it's really fast and it's super fun to ride because of that. But I'll tell you, it's the least comfortable bicycle I've ever owned.
There's something about going really fast on a bicycle that scares the shit out of me.
Oh, it's terrifying, but that's
Yeah.
kind of what I love about it.
Right. Motorcycles, fine with, comfortable.
I guess it's more gyroscopic in a sense. Not that it works like a gyroscope, but it has more of like a center of gravity, whereas a bicycle's just a frame and two wheels
Yeah,
and
yeah,
a pulley.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like it's
if something goes awry on the bicycle, I feel like I don't know. I don't know if it would be harder to correct on a bicycle or a motorcycle. I would say a motorcycle would be harder at higher speeds, but
maybe on my bike it would be more difficult, I think, because the tires are about that thin.
That's what I'm saying, dude. If you run over a nickel, like it's sketchy.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But then it's a fixie too. So it's one gear and you can pedal forward and in reverse. So it's like what bike messengers use cuz you don't ever stop pedaling. Like the chain is like totally fixed. So you can't ever stop pedaling. You can't coast at all. You have to just keep pedaling the whole time. So the idea is like just quick and efficient. It's actually one of the reasons I got the bike was because I wanted something that would kind of force me to over-exercise when bike riding. Because,
yeah, but that sounds miserable at the same time.
It depends.
I guess you can quit using your leg muscles and just keep your feet on the pedals, and it'll kind of pedal for you.
Yeah, especially if you're like going downhill. There's no option.
Right.
That, which is, if you're going really fast downhill, that's kind of terrifying because your legs are like flailing as you're like being shuttled down this hill. But yeah, no, it's really fun. I just, it's been at my mom's for years since I haven't, had a place to store it at the apartment. But I ended up longboarding downtown a lot. Well, it's not a longboard. I have a cruiser.
You ain't gonna catch me on one of those.
Kill
myself.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. I do not have the motor skills for skateboarding or longboarding.
Which is so weird because
I can
have
cruise
the
a nickel
aura
board.
of that.
Right. Well, I guess that's just because I'm dumb. I don't know.
No.
But you really come off like a guy that skateboards. Like I feel like when you say that, I'm like, cool. I'm an idiot.
I think more of like a house show goer. That's like,
well, yeah, but that's me for sure, dude.
Yeah,
I am a house
that's
show goer,
but that's like also the skating community.
I guess, dude. I don't know, man. I really wanted to get into skating. My older brother was at one point good enough to where he could have gotten sponsorships, guaranteed. But
that's crazy.
He quit doing it. He was more interested in partying, which I don't blame you.
Yeah, that's the story of a lot of people that I grew up with that could have been sponsored.
Yeah, man. I don't know if it's lack of patience or what, but I suck.
Well, it's interesting too that you can ride a motorcycle because I feel like that requires a lot of dexterity.
Not really.
Well,
not really.
No, you don't think more
I would say it is as easy to ride a motorcycle as it is a bicycle.
Fair enough.
Maybe learning how to shift might trip a bunch of people
Shifting
up, but
is a little strange.
They operate the same way as far as like how to turn at speed on a bike versus how to turn at speed. Right, you just lean, and a lot of it is with your arms. Surprisingly, just kind of like pushing in the direction that you want to go.
Yeah, I get that. I don't know. Motorcycles have always fascinated and slightly terrified me. My dad rode his whole life, and I always wanted to. He always would tell me about like this great Indian that he used to have, and I just always I either wanted an Indian or Triumph. Those are the two that I thought were the coolest.
Yeah, you're definitely a Bonneville boy.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I would love to have a Bonneville, but I mean, the same.
Like I could see you on a Moto Guzzi.
See, okay, so
some sort of cafe racer.
I have thought about buying a cafe racer.
Of course you have.
Mostly just because like you can get them with a low enough CC where you don't have to go take the test and all that stuff. But at that point, I'm like, I might as well just get a moped because that's what I actually am.
Honestly, you don't want something with that little CCs. It's dangerous. I mean, everybody always assumes that the faster the bike, the more dangerous, which to a degree is true. It depends on...
yeah, it depends on your recklessness.
Right, it depends on how responsible you are as a person. But you need something with enough oomph to, like, if you need to get out of the way, you can get out of the way. You need to be able to blip the throttle and accelerate at a healthy clip versus gunning it on a Honda Ruckus.
At redlining the whole time.
Shitty brakes, shitty acceleration. Yeah. So it's like, well, if I slam on my brakes, I'm going to get hit. And if I try to speed up, I'll still get hit. Yeah. So, like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, and those Ruckuses, too, it's funny. That was what everyone at Vape Crazy wanted me to get.
The Ruckus?
Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, but you got to think about who we were working with. Wes, car guy. Nick, car guy. Yeah. Jacob, car guy and motorcycle guy. Cole, whatever he is.
Cole is Cole. I love Cole.
Yeah, I like
such
Cole.
a nice guy.
I like the shit out of Cole.
I haven't seen him in a long time.
It's been probably a year. He used to work at Evolution, and I would see him up there every once in a while. But
that was probably the last time I saw him.
Damien's really the main person I see over there now.
Yeah, he's a cool dude too.
Yeah, I like Damien.
Well, that crew is always cool.
Yeah.
So, what has been going on in your world since we were here last?
Man, nothing, dude.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just, been going to work. We just had a big union meeting.
I was about to say, you had a...
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Or yesterday, Friday.
Yeah.
Voting on a new contract, which I can't really talk
disclose
much about. Yeah. Did not go the way I wanted it to. That's all I can really say.
That sucks.
Ended with me being really mad.
So you glad you went?
No, I didn't want to go. I didn't want to go in the first place because I knew what I was getting into. I knew when I went there already. I know the type of people that go there. And listen, I'm a union member. I'm in full support of the union.
Yeah.
But that does not mean that I like the majority of them. You know what I mean? Like the majority of them just like to drink and get rowdy and
that seems to be...
It's like a high school cafeteria, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I would equate it to.
Now that I'm working at the warehouse, I've noticed that seems to be sort of like a cross-compatible thing.
Yeah, a lot of bitching.
Well, yeah, there's two things that I've noticed that seems to be just sort of continual and also just sort of... It's just common, I guess, amongst those sorts of jobs where it's like mostly a male-dominated work environment, but then it's also like not a job that most people want to do, and everyone there knows that. Yeah. Like even the managers and stuff like that. But there's just a lot of complaining, and then a lot of people making like alcohol their main thing in life. Yeah. I work with a guy who literally just like, he went up to me the other day and he was like, "Is it wrong that all I want to do is drink?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean exactly?" And he was like, "It's not that I have to drink, and it's not that like I couldn't not drink, but I think about it, and there's just nothing else I want to do with my time. Like when I'm not here, I just want to drink all day."
That is an alcoholic.
Right.
That's what an alcoholic is.
That was...
You can make up any excuse you want. Yeah. Like, I've been there, dude. I've convinced myself a multitude of times. Like,
this isn't a problem. I'm
right. I'm in complete control. Do I drink a little too much? Sure.
Am I drunk having this thought right now? Absolutely.
I'm fine though, man. I'm fine.
It's so interesting how commonplace that is in these sorts of work environments where people just give up. They just go, "Well, I'm gonna drink all day."
So, like, I think a lot of it has to do with stress, I guess. I don't know. Like, we work. It's almost part of the culture, dude.
It is.
Genuinely. Yeah. I mean, like, when you're working a blue collar job, like, it's almost part of the culture. Like, you work your ass off.
And then you neck a beer immediately.
Yeah, you have some beers when you get off, or like, you go to the bar with the boys, have some beers after work. Like, it's just kind of part of the culture.
That's the other thing that I've noticed is like deeply in the culture of like warehouse jobs specifically, at least from what I've seen, is like there's going to be like a clique of like 5 country dudes, and they every single day after work, they just say adios and immediately go to the bar.
Yeah, I feel like the majority of those people don't have anybody to go home to.
Funny, well, in this case scenario, they're all married that I know of. Yeah.
And their wives don't care, or they don't care that their wives care?
I think it's that one.
Yeah. That's pretty commonplace.
Yeah. Which is also another shitty character trait that I've seen sort of repeated over and over again.
Well, and listen, I don't want it to sound any certain way when I say this, because I've met some of the best people I know through the union.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of really good people, but there's also a lot of really shitty people.
Oh, there's a ton of people I like at the warehouse, too.
A lot of it boils down to the fact that it's not... You don't have to have any sort of experience with really anything to get a job like that. Like, really anybody can walk in off the street and... either do it or learn to do it.
Yeah, and you don't need a degree or any experience.
Right. Which is great. Yeah. It's great. I didn't go to college. I'm not talking poorly about people that do blue-collar work. It's what I do for a living.
Yeah, definitely not a bad thing.
But
just invites a certain type of person.
It does, and we've got plenty of them. You know, we've got plenty of them that I've worked around where I'm like, man,
could you be more ignorant?
You are not a good person.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think that they necessarily care. I think that most of their vice in life, which everyone has, is being an angry person. And, I mean, it probably makes them feel satisfied in an odd way because they no longer feel like their power is being taken away from them.
I guess.
Well, 'cause I feel like that's the main reason why people get upset in a workplace is because they don't feel like they have any individual liberties. They're just sort of like a drone.
You're working for the man. You might not be the government, but there's still someone above you.
Right.
You're still doing a job. You're being essentially told what to do. Nobody likes that.
Right. So you're going to brown nose the people above you and then bitch and moan to everybody beneath you. And that seems to just kind of be the way that these situations play out, which... You know, it's discouraging to be in that for too long. You know, it's hard.
I appreciate the job that I have, and I appreciate that it
very much so.
You know, it pays the bills, puts food on the table for, you know, Grace and Mikey, and you know, we live in like a nice house and everything, and like I'm very thankful that I have the opportunity to do the work that I do for the pay that I have.
Yeah,
but. That being said, is it the passion of mine?
No.
No. Do I hate my job?
Yeah.
I used to.
Yeah.
Maybe not hate, because I've tried to change the way that I think about things. So like maybe not hate, but I definitely wouldn't do it for free.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't do it for less money than I'm making now.
Yeah. I feel the exact same way. The reframe that I've been trying to make in my mind is like, well, I'm grateful to be working.
Right, because it could always be worse.
Oh, so much worse.
There's
and I've done so much worse.
Yeah, right. Me too. I mean, there's 50-year-old men out there that would kill to have the opportunity that I do. So like I try to like remain thankful for it all, but it's definitely hard sometimes.
So
there's some times where I'm on the 5th floor and I just have the world's worst apprentice right now, which I don't want to talk about too much, but dude, I mean, there's times where I want to like jump off of the building and just head
or throw him off the building.
Right? No, not even that. I don't even want to go to that extreme. I just the whole time I'm just like, all I gotta do, I could just, you know,
that's not good.
Right off this building.
That's not good. Though.
I mean, obviously, I would never do it.
No, I know, but at the same time, it's just like it's a shitty mental environment to be in. You don't want to have to put up with that.
It can be. And it sucks when you work around people that want to make life more miserable than it has to be. And it's like, dude, all of us are here, man.
Well, that's a lot of the complaining that's why I can't stand the complaining, because it ruins my mood every single time. If I go in there and I'm like having a wonderful day up until I go in there, I know that the reason generally is because someone is going to complain about how long we're going to be there that day or how hard that day is going to be. And then it's like, it doesn't even matter if I was in a good mood or like trying to be positive. It's like, okay, well now the expectation is that I'm going to have a horrible day at work because everyone else around me is echoing that.
Yeah, I see any chance I get, man, like if I'm working around people I like, you know, I won't do this, but I would say 90% of the time I have my headphones in and I just drown everybody out, dude. I just drown everybody out. I'm not supposed to, but...
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah, I mean...
I think it'd be harder for me to get away with that, mostly because my supervisor, like, is pretty directly in front of me for most of my day.
Plus, you're in a warehouse where you have to worry about, like, forklifts or getting in people's ways, and, like, you know, like, I get it why you can't. I'm in a new construction building.
Yeah, you don't
5 floors up.
Yeah, you're just kind of doing your own deal.
Right. I'm just, as long as I'm running pipe.
Yeah,
people are pretty happy. Yeah. So
that's fair.
Got that. But
so bad segue. The solo episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say just go. Change the topic. Yes. We don't have to have a segue. Just all right. Enough of that.
Yeah,
on to the next.
It's just so depressing to talk about work. This is our liberation from that.
Right. So. Yeah. It's like they got a hold of us, man.
Literally. So the solo episode that you've done should be up by the time this is released, and mine should be up by then too. I wanted to briefly talk about sort of the direction that this channel's going
right.
in.
Which, yeah, we should definitely discuss that, especially since we're like clear-headed today.
Yes.
Will make 100% sense.
At least 80%
Most sense. Yeah.
So we've talked about this before in the way that I really see this playing out as a company. Because that is what we're in the pursuit of, turning this into an actual
I tell
company.
everybody it's already a business, man.
Yeah.
I mean, in my mind, it is.
Yeah, it's a business. It's got a business plan. There's a trajectory that we are trying to reach with this endeavor. So I think really it's a pretty clear example of, like, these solo videos are a pretty clear example of what we're trying to aim for, which is that, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the goal ultimately is to become more of like a production company.
Yes.
To be able to put out content of all different shades and flavors and it be under the branch and umbrella of Just After Midnight.
That's what I was going to say. Just After Midnight to me is the umbrella. It's the parent company.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and what's cool about it too, and something that I've kind of been realizing as I've been looking at how to market these solo videos, a big problem that people are having right now with YouTube is that so many things, well, YouTube is just saturated, period, overly so. But on top of that, people will have these really great ideas, and you see these channels because it happens all the time. But if you like have a name for a show and you look up that name, chances are someone already has that as a channel, and they have like 3 videos, and they tried to do the same thing that you were gonna do just like years ago, and it didn't pan out.
Yeah,
for
they
them.
didn't like follow through or whatever the excuse may be.
Right, and so what I've realized is if you can find a company name that you really like, you can call the videos whatever you want to.
Right.
And the worst thing that's gonna happen is you get sort of like mutual traction to multiple channels. Which is actually a really good way to sort of like spruce yourself up in the algorithm. Because if you can title like another bigger place,
right?
You know, it's gonna you'll congregate more views just from the availability of the title.
That's that you?
Yeah, it was my upload podcast alarm.
Oh, nice. Nice. Yeah, we are doing this on a Sunday this week.
Yeah.
Since I was busy on Friday, so.
Yeah, well, so was I. So it worked out well.
Fair enough.
But anyway, I think, you know, especially with some of the bigger, like, independent projects we're working on, we will also be releasing those on Just After Midnight.
Yeah.
So, like, my 3rd album, probably late May now. The original release date was supposed to be mid-May, but probably going to be late May now. Probably like 2nd or last week of May. We'll do a podcast episode on that, but then we'll also, you know, premiere the album probably on this channel. You know, and
absolutely.
We'll keep doing solo videos and stuff like that. So, for me anyway, and I'll let you elaborate obviously on this as well, I be looking out for more and more unique content, because the podcast is our main platform and it's the thing that we want to upkeep the most. But on top of that, you know, we have enough availability throughout the week that even if we can't get together to do a podcast,
right,
it would just be lazy for us to not like actually, you know, make some content that we also find interesting and we think that our viewers would find interesting as well.
Yeah, well, and I think it does a really good job. What I like about the solo videos is, you know, you definitely get a feel for our personalities and whatnot on the podcast.
Yeah.
But then again, a lot of the podcast, especially when we don't have a guest on, and a lot of times even when we do have a guest on, we talk to them about anything and everything too. So it doesn't do a very good job at showcasing 100% what your interests are and like getting a build of like, okay, you know, I can listen to this person for a couple hours, shoot the shit, but you know, like I just feel like the solo videos do a really good job at showcasing you in another light.
Yes.
Because like
I would agree with that.
A lot of the style videos that I want to make have to do with like album reviews, or like the video I have coming out, which is like my favorite
Brad
Pitt roles. Like I want to do stuff like that, and obviously I know you do too to a degree. But
definitely,
I like Just After Midnight being essentially the umbrella for anything else that we want to do creatively, because it's not like we don't want to do stuff creatively together. Like we're still like you're heavily involved in the Brad Pitt video. You don't show up on camera, but you're still involved with a huge legwork of it. So I mean it's not like it's like, okay, I'm going to do my own thing.
Right.
And you do your own thing.
Yeah, it's not like that at all.
But then we'll do the podcast together. Like, no, dude. No. We'll, like, I'll be in your videos and you'll be in my videos. And then that way it frees us up to also do stuff like, we can't talk too much about it, but we have, like, a funny video idea that we want to do, which is going to be almost in the style of a vlog or like us documenting how the day goes.
Yes.
And so, like, it makes more sense if we broaden the platform. We can get away with doing stuff like that versus it just being completely out of left field.
Yep.
And then even off camera entirely, you know, I don't want to go too deep into it, but you and I have talked about, we'll just put it as we've talked about, like, eventually getting into event coordinating.
Yes.
And, you know, we'll stop there. But, like, you know, there's other things that we want out of this.
Well, and to bring to people too, because that's really another portion of it, is that, you know, any company is selling a product, and we want to be able to give enough products to where multiple different kinds of people would be interested.
Yeah.
They don't have to love the podcast, but they might like a certain type of video that we do.
100%.
As a side tangent. Well, and another thing, too, is really, I feel like sometimes in the podcast, it's difficult for us to clearly voice our opinion on things, mostly because either we're worried about, you know, cutting the other person off, or, you know, it's so, like, off the cuff that sometimes you don't articulate something as clearly as you might like to. And I think that these solo videos will make it easier for us to release more focused content often, because the podcasts are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be enjoyable to listen to.
And that's why we take the approach that we take.
Right. And you don't want to sit there and have to safeguard yourself the whole time. But by giving yourself more platforms in which to create content, it's very easy to plan out what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, will give a more interesting take on maybe topics that we would want to expand on.
Right. And I think you put it perfectly when you say more focused content, because, you know, you and I have really bad attention spans. And so, like, we will just rabbit hole so quick, so easily. Yes. But when you have a topic right in front of you and you know, okay, I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes for this solo video, which, you know, maybe if we make 100 solo videos, maybe a couple of them might go over 20 minutes. But realistically, we're shooting for
20 minutes.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing, too. I think that really it's going to function as a channel sort of the way like an old school television network would have, which is like, you know, broad programming for everybody. You know, the podcast is kind of like the late night host that is like the big name for whatever channel you're at, you know, CBS or whatnot. And then the other ones are sort of like, you know, your primetime slots, you know. Yeah,
because neither one of us want the podcast to go anywhere.
Not at all.
We enjoy doing this. This is 100% what we love. But we don't want to become too tied down to just one form of content. And we don't want to have 5 different YouTube channels and be like, okay, well, this video has to go on this YouTube channel and then this one has to go over here. And it's like, dude, that's just...
It's too much.
It's way too much.
It's not even... Well, it's not streamlined or efficient at that point. And that, I think that's, you know, another thing that we can kind of bring to our audience with this is, like, now that we have a clear vision and it's streamlined, like, all of our content's in one place.
Yep.
Depending on, you know, whatever platform you want to be a part of in order to view or listen to our content, like, you can find all of it there, you know.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, here soon we'll be, you know, like, we'll be up on, like, the podcast will be up on, like, Apple and Spotify and stuff like that. It's getting there, but, you know, you won't be able to view that stuff on...
No.
and then we're eventually gonna have like a Patreon, and we can then upload exclusive stuff to there, and like really on Patreon you don't have to worry about anything. I mean,
well, and the other thing too is I was thinking about Rumble. I really feel like Rumble is a good platform for us.
Listen, I'm not opposed to joining any platform. You know what I mean? Like,
I might go home and make us a Rumble account tonight just for fun.
The more spaces we can share the content, the better, 100%. Obviously.
And I think a website might come soon as well, because I found some pretty creative ways to do merch that I think are gonna work out really well for everybody.
Yeah. So something cool. Not 100% or anything, but Grace and I were kind of talking about this. So Grace's mom has like a press to make hoodies and you can put graphics on whatever you want.
Hoodies, like a screen printing thing.
Yeah. It's a heat press though.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's not the screen printer, it's the heat press where you can press actual vinyl logos on jackets or shirts or sweatpants or whatever. Yeah. So, but she doesn't use it anymore. So she's gonna talk to her and maybe we'll have like a little printing press operation where we can.
That'd be cool.
We can kind of do like small order stuff.
Yeah. Especially the logo's so damn cool that I want people to be able to have the opportunity to sport the logo.
I've already told you what the dream is for me is once we build up a big enough audience.
Yeah.
I want to make like onesies, like a black onesie with the little white stars all over it and then the little jam jars all over it.
Yes. That would be so fun, like adult pajamas. Logo, it's great. Yeah. So these are all things for you guys as audience members to look forward to, and a lot of it is sort of already in the works and coming. So it won't be long until you start seeing the result of these things.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So on a better segue, because you did your favorite Brad Pitt films.
Yeah.
I think on the podcast today, since we are considered an entertainment podcast, we should talk about our favorite Johnny Depp roles.
Easy. I love Johnny Depp. I know that you love Johnny Depp as well. Plus, that's good because then it kind of gives like a preview of
it's almost like a teaser for what the solo videos look like.
Yeah, because still I like to maintain. I like being a character when I want to be a character, but I don't want to be like that YouTube personality that's like, hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to Just After. This is going to be the bad. No, I don't want to do all that. So this is essentially the platform in which I recorded it was...
Yeah, sit down and talk.
Yeah, so...
And it's the best way to do things. Just be honest with people. People appreciate that.
Do you want to... We're not even going to put a number on it. We'll just talk about Johnny Depp until we're tired of talking about Johnny Depp.
All right,
how about
fair
that?
Enough.
So
like that.
You kick us off. Us off. No, and I'm going to... listen, there's... Without thinking about it, there's no way that I can put this in a numerical order anyway. So I'm just going to say movies that come to mind that I love.
Okay.
I think it's safe that... You can do it however you want. But I'm if I say... one movie, it doesn't mean that I like that one more than the other.
Fair enough. Although there are definitely ones at the bottom of my list.
Yes, and there's definitely ones at the top of the list.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't mind being like, this one's definitely a topper for me. But so you kick us off.
I'll kick it off with Benny and June. Love that movie.
Never seen that movie.
Never seen that one. Okay. So let me give you a little synopsis on Benny and June.
Yep.
It's a weird one. So Aiden, what is his name?
Ross.
No, not Aiden Ross. Pudgy Aiden. Let me look up his name real quick because I don't want to get it wrong.
Pudgy Aiden. What around what year did this movie come out?
This would be late 90s.
Okay, late 90s.
Here, I'm just gonna look it up real quick because I don't want to get anything wrong. That's how much I like this movie.
Yeah.
93.
93. So early 90s.
Early 90s.
It's 2 years before I was born.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Couple extra for me.
Like 6.
No.
5.
Yeah, 5.
Yeah, 5.
Aidan Quinn. Who, just as a little side note, he's been in a lot of stuff, but Practical Magic, Legends of the Fall, Brad Pitt movie.
Yeah. Which I actually did not talk about.
Yeah.
In the top 5 Brad Pitt movies.
Do you like that movie?
Yes.
I haven't seen it in so long. I don't know if I would like it anymore.
It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't add it. I remember liking it a lot. Yeah. And I know he's a beautiful man in that movie. Of course. First off, I mean,
it's kind of like River Runs Through It. Like it's that era.
Yeah.
I just don't really remember if that stuff's any good or not.
Yeah, I might as well stop on that because I'll go right back into talking about Brad Pitt.
Yeah, fair enough. So Benny and June is basically about this guy who Aidan Quinn plays is like a car mechanic, and he's like basically like often worried about his little sister. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like the main role in his life, and the sort of opening for the movie is like a very clear example of how like Aidan Quinn flirts with this girl and obviously like makes it so that he could have a date with her, and then gets a phone call that his little sister's freaking out and has to cancel the date. And it's sort of like a representation of how his love life seems to continuously go. And basically what ends up happening is his little sister is a, they don't ever clarify what she has, but I would say it's probably a form of autism. Mm-hmm. That's probably the most like similar to a modern diagnosis of what she has. So she's like high functioning autistic though. She's like very normal as far as like, you know, human behavior goes, right, but socially inept. Like she wears a football helmet everywhere she goes because she's worried about a car crashing. She doesn't like loud noises. Mess bothers her unless it's her own mess. Stuff like that.
Right.
They can never keep a housekeeper because she's always flipping out on the housekeeper. And that's like, the housekeeper's like the person that like basically is keeping the house afloat so that he can go out and work while she sits at home and like paints all day. That's kind of her deal. But Johnny Depp is the nephew of a guy that Aidan Quinn works with, and they have a poker night. So Aidan Quinn's like the main character, so I'm just going to refer to him as that. So the main character takes his little sister to the poker game night, and you kind of get a little vignette into Johnny Depp's character, who's Benny, and basically his uncle like very reluctantly took him in, doesn't want him there, like mildly abusive in sort of like a funny way.
Yeah.
Like, just, you know, sort of how anyone would be if they had to take in a random family member that they didn't know very well. So what they end up doing is betting him in the poker game as like a maid, basically. Like the uncle just doesn't want him there anymore, so he's like, look, if you lose this hand, you have to take my nephew. And he'll work for you.
Damn.
But you have to take him, and he has to live with you. So he goes all in and loses the bet, so he has to take home the nephew. Well, Johnny Depp's character is equally strange in the fact that he doesn't seem to have like a disability per se, but he is far too obsessed with like Charlie Chaplin and like silent film slapstick comedy.
Right, okay.
So the whole movie basically is him like falling in love with the sister by charming her with his like Charlie Chaplin
goofy
antics.
Yeah.
And Aidan Quinn is like the only normal one, like just in the middle.
Sweet movie.
It's a great movie. And what's really cool is like it's sort of a coming of age story. It's sort of a comedy, but then the drama, like it becomes like really hard hitting at certain points.
Well, you know me, I'm a sucker for drama.
Yeah, that's one of those that like you put it on and you're like, oh, this is just fun, and then you cry halfway through and you're like, what did they do to me? But that's probably why it's one of my favorite Johnny Depp movies. On top of the fact that he like just does the slapstick thing perfectly. It's like his impression of like a mix between Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. Mm-hmm. It's like you never knew you wanted Johnny Depp to do that, but you can see how it's like almost a precursor to like maybe some of the stuff that he did with Jack Sparrow.
Right.
It's very physical.
Well, he's very so it's funny that you brought up Johnny Depp because I was going to make a video about some of the most versatile actors.
Yeah.
And he'll definitely be in it. But he is extremely talented. He can pretty much sell any role.
Yeah, even though you know it's him, it doesn't seem to be a factor.
Yeah, you believe it the whole time.
And this is one of those, because he really is sort of a chameleon in this one. Not in the way that like he changes roles throughout the movie, but he changes his personality so much.
He has played a chameleon before.
True.
He has.
I love that movie too.
I just watched it the other day, actually.
Yeah, with Mikey.
It, yeah.
That's a fun one.
So I can definitely say,
yeah,
that this movie is on up there for me.
Okay.
Secret Window.
Secret Window is you know what's funny about
incredible movie.
I love the movie too. Critically, everyone shits on it. And I don't know why.
Listen, fuck the critics.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned,
first off, yes.
Critics care way too much about their own opinion, and other critics
fair.
are the ones that keep critics in business. Nobody else, I feel, really cares about critics unless you're like fully enveloped in Hollywood.
Well, yeah, if you read the trade papers and you're trying to like make decisions on like stocks and stuff like that. But yeah.
But for anybody who doesn't know, so Secret Window is a thriller. I would call it a psychological thriller.
I think that's the most apt description, yeah.
It's got some like horror elements to it, but essentially Johnny Depp is an author going through a divorce or already divorced. You know, him and his ex-wife don't have the best relationship. He's an alcoholic. You know, he's kind of just
normal writer probs.
Right. Yeah. He is the stereotypical writer. He is the stereotypical
it's
author.
Based off a Stephen King novel, I believe.
I believe so.
Which would make a lot of sense because Stephen King is also famous for like dropping tabs of acid every night.
Yeah. Crazy how much that man writes.
And drops acid.
So Johnny Depp's character. He gets a random knock at the door one day.
Yeah.
And a man shows up, and it's this like small town hick essentially. Yeah.
Who is also in
I can't remember the guy's name.
I can't either, but he's one of the three main characters in Oh Brother Where Art Thou. He's the tall skinny one.
He is.
Yeah.
So the guy comes knocking on his door and accuses Johnny Depp of stealing his work.
You stole my book.
Yep. And he says he's got a script with a date on it. And he can 100% prove that you stole my work and you published it under your name and you need to right your wrong.
Right.
And so weird stuff starts happening because Johnny Depp pretty much tells him to kick rocks.
Yeah.
Well,
and the whole thing too is that Johnny Depp doesn't remember his book or meeting him or anything like that. So he thinks he's perfectly innocent of it too.
Yeah. So, a lot of strange things start happening. I don't want to give away too much because it's one of those movies where you don't.
You can give stuff away.
Yeah, you do not want to give anything good away in it. But, at one point, let's just say a dead animal ends up at his house as a threat. And he's being harassed. Yeah, it's a lot of harassment and stuff like that. And eventually...
And him trying to keep it a secret from his ex, too, if I remember correctly. Or not his ex, but his wife. I feel like... I can't remember.
No. He doesn't. No, because he tells her straight up, I've got this fucking nut that keeps showing up and harassing me and saying that I stole... do you remember me meeting this or me telling you where I might have gotten the inspiration for this book?
It's a phone call. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
She only shows up in the later half of the movie, really.
But yeah, it's a really good movie. It's a really good psychological thriller akin to, I would say, Shutter Island.
I feel like that's the perfect...
It is, great movie. If you ever, I recommend watching it with the lights off.
Yes.
It's not one of those. There's no it's not
I might go home and watch that tonight.
It's such a good movie, dude. It's like one of my mom's favorite Johnny Depp movies too. She's a huge Johnny Depp fan.
Well, we watched
as everybody should be.
Yes, of course. We watched it 2 Halloweens ago. No, 3 Halloweens ago. While we were carving pumpkins, and that was a really good way to watch that movie.
Yeah.
It was the right atmosphere to carve pumpkins on a witchy night too.
The guy's name isn't the guy who shows up, and isn't his name Shooter?
I think so.
I think his last name is Shooter or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
Great movie, great psychological thriller.
Super good.
It really shows some of the more. It highlights more of Johnny Depp's serious, ominous kind of. Acting.
It's interesting too. He puts on almost like a voice for that movie. It's not really a voice, but it's
almost kind of like how Bradley Cooper did a voice for Jackson, Maine. It's not the same kind of voice, but he kind of deepens it a little bit. He's a little bit more like serious.
Yeah. So to piggyback off of that one, this one came out around the same time period. But this is actually one of my least favorite Johnny Depp movies. The Ninth Gate.
Yeah.
So
I actually didn't even finish that movie.
You should have, because that's the best part of the whole movie.
Really?
Yeah. So it's so slow up until the ending, which is one of the reasons why I don't like it so much.
Yeah.
The biggest reason I don't like it is because there's a certain certain location that they keep revisiting the whole movie. Like, beginning, middle, and end. They keep going back to this same place. And it's not a bad thing per se, because it's a really pretty location, but it's like after the 6th time you're like, we get it, this is where he goes, you know. But not to give too much away, not that I really care for this one. You know what, I'll give it away.
Yeah.
Effectively, spoiler alert for The Ninth Gate if you care about watching a movie that scored a whole 6.5 on IMDb. Effectively, he's a rare book dealer. Mm-hmm. He travels to Italy, don't remember why. And he keeps going to this bookstore over and over and over again because he meets up with this guy there who claims to have a rare book. And effectively...
The premise of the movie is so cool, too.
It is really cool. So effectively, he's trying to find this book that, like, summons the devil.
Yep.
He doesn't believe in it. He thinks it's bullshit. But there's also this female love interest throughout the movie who's also very interested in books and things like, you know, things that you basically wouldn't ascribe to a pretty young woman.
Right.
You know, that very fit his character.
Yeah.
And effectively what ends up happening by the end of the movie is you find out the book is not only real, but she's the devil and has been the whole time.
It's such a cool premise.
It is a cool premise. The execution was just lame.
Yeah.
It just kind of falls flat.
It's very lackluster.
It's lackluster. It's a lot like The Tourist in that way. Scene to scene, it's very vanilla, very plain until you get to the ending where he has sex with the devil, and then you're like, okay, well, that was weird, and then credits, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's basically
For a
what
second,
the
I
movie
thought you were
is.
still talking about The Tourist, and I was like, I don't remember that
part. No, The Tourist is maybe the most lame Johnny Depp movie.
It is
with
a
his
hard
little blue
watch.
e-cigarette.
It is a hard watch.
It's bad. He wanted to take a vacation. That's why it's
pretty much. It's a destination movie
for the George Clooney film, where he's just hanging out in Italy. It's like the whole movie. He's just like, it's George Clooney in Italy. That's I forget what the name of it is too. It's just like The Tourist. Like, it's basically the same
I don't
title.
I don't remember either. There was a couple of them. I feel like Johnny Depp was in 2 movies, The Tourist, and then he was in one more that was similar to The Tourist. And I can't remember what it is now.
He was in the Agatha Christie movie, like the
Because
Murder on the Orient Express.
That's the one
It's
with Angelina Jolie.
Yeah.
And no, that movie's not good.
No.
Not good.
No.
One that I did watch not too long ago, huge fan of it, because I'm super into the Mafia, would be Donnie Brasco.
Yeah, Donnie Brasco's a good...
That is a heavy hitter right there, dude.
Yeah.
Donnie Brasco, great movie. Again, anybody who doesn't know. I mean, Donnie Brasco, I would say, is a good balance between drama and action, and not suspense in the sense of like thriller suspense, but it does get a little stressful at certain points.
It's
just
hectic.
Because Donnie Brasco, it's based on a true story. So Johnny Depp, his undercover alias is Donnie Brasco. He's an FBI agent, and he infiltrates the mafia.
Yep. It's kind of similar to The Departed, like storyline wise, but not as many characters, not as many moving parts.
Which is
such a good movie.
I have Matt Damon on the list of actors that I want to cover, and that movie is definitely on there. So I'm really big into anything that has to do with the mafia. I've always been attracted to it, whether it's
really fun.
Even down to like love listening to like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, stuff like that.
Can I tell you one thing real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just not to interrupt you too much. I just think you'll find this interesting. I have like a little conspiracy theory about my family.
Oh.
grandfather that I'm named after, who is actually my dad's stepfather.
You're not gonna get someone sent here.
No. Too old world for that to happen. Okay. I think. But his name was Anthony Bonanno, and
really
was a DC person who was like a barber his entire life. And I've done a little bit of digging, and I just cannot imagine that he's not related to like the New York Bonanno mafia family, because it's just too close time period wise, too close.
But he's a Greek, not an Italian.
He was not Greek.
What was he?
I don't know, but he was dark complexion. He was tall, and his name was Tony Bonanno.
I mean, that's an Italian name if I ever heard one.
Dude. And the only thing I know, other than what he did for a living, is that he had a lot of money. And I don't know where he got it from.
I don't know many barbers that got a shit ton of money.
Yeah. So I have a little conspiracy theory that my grandfather...
Hey, that would be cool.
See, I don't think that he was in the mafia, but I think that he, like, through family ties, had to have been connected to the Bonanno family. I just think that it's
you should
too
dig
coincidental.
Deeper. You should try to find out.
Yeah.
I think that would just be cool to know.
I agreed. It's just like, especially through ancestry, like, just because of the surname, I cannot imagine that there's no correlation there.
Yeah.
But anyway, keep going with Donnie Brasco. Sorry, I wanted to tell you about that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's why I say you live a very interesting life. That
it's weird. All
it's
right.
like on the surface interesting, but then the deeper you dig, you're like, I've known this guy for 10 years and I don't know half of this shit. Like,
I can barely keep up with it.
But yeah, no, Donnie Brasco is just a good movie, man. It's about him not only infiltrating the mafia and trying to live that life, but at the same time trying to balance the life that he has at home, because he's got a wife and a kid. And, you know, I mean, when you're that deep undercover, you have to be at anybody's beck and call. So, you know, he's trying to keep his family together, but at the same time, he knows what he's doing is really important, and so he doesn't want to turn his back on that either. And it really shows you how hard it could be to go undercover, because then he ends up developing a relationship with the very people that he's trying to take down.
Yeah.
And it just...
That's really the crux of the film.
Right,
I feel like.
yeah. I mean, because once you get to that ending scene, you're just like...
Yeah.
Damn, dude, that's got to be rough, man. That's got to be a hard dig. But yeah, man, Donnie Brasco. It's gonna be hard for me to think of a movie that I've seen of Johnny Depp's that I don't like.
Yeah. I can still come up with a few more, but there's so many good ones. So my next one, I'd say is like the most closely related to Donnie Brasco in the way that it's kind of like Scarface. Mm-hmm. It's kind of how I think about.
Oh, I already know where this is going. I was gonna say it too.
Blow.
Oh, absolutely.
Blow is such a good film.
I mean, start to
gosh. Finish. So it's really long too.
Very long.
Feels like a blink of an eye though.
Yeah, it's really good.
So entertaining. And what you don't expect is when you get, because he seems like a badass and like, I want to do this. Like, I want to have this kind of lifestyle. I want to hang out with these people. You know, like, you just kind of get sucked into the movie aura of, like, how cool they make him out to be. But then the latter half of the movie shifts tones so completely.
Yeah, it really broke my heart when I saw it, too. Because I was like, oh, God. Man, it's hard to see him like that.
Yeah. I watched it at Vape Crazy for the first time. And, I was literally crying in Vape Crazy one day.
Really?
Because it got to the ending of that movie and I was like, no, it's all fake.
So what's it about?
So it's about a guy who kind of just involved in like late 60s, early 70s, like hippie culture.
Yep.
But then he gets roped into doing a couple of like coke deals.
Yep.
Effectively. And the way that I remember it is he was just really good at it. And that was kind of what continued to make him like grow in the
pretty much, yeah. I mean, he, people person between that and just he realized how much more money there was in cocaine than there was in weed.
Right. So that was the other thing. He was like kind of a low end dealer, but then he figured out how to run. Is is it Scarface or is it Blow where they run the coke out of a used car dealership? I think that was Scarface.
I think that's Scarface.
Yeah, so either way, it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I remember, effectively, it's him and this girl, and they do a lot of coke, and they sell a lot of coke, and eventually it just implodes, and she either dies or goes away, and he's got a daughter, and it just becomes a clusterfuck.
Well, it essentially, it ruins their marriage. So, when they got together, they were a little bit younger. He was on top of the game, and, things were going great, had all this money and whatnot. Can't remember the actress. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Can't remember her name.
It's not Salma Hayek, but the other one. The other really famous Latina star from back then. She was in Vanilla Sky. Yeah, Penelope Cruz.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Gorgeous. Vanilla Sky, great movie.
Great movie.
So
Tom Cruise also on that list.
Just all the good ones. So they've just got this crazy, passionate, toxic relationship, and then eventually, the cocaine gets to everybody one way or another if you're gonna sit there and do it like that.
Yeah.
He goes from on top of the game to
bottom,
getting pinched, and then
then he goes to prison, and he's an old man at the end of the movie. Like
when he comes out,
no, he comes out. I was saying that he's an old man.
Okay, you're saying at the very.
Yeah, because the last scene of the movie, he doesn't come out.
No,
because the last scene of the movie is, I'll spoil it. Who cares?
Yeah.
The last scene of the movie is him hallucinating that his daughter came to visit him one more time before he dies.
That's what it is. He's standing in the yard, right? Yeah.
And then, like, the way that they reveal that she didn't actually come to see him and that he just died alone is, like, so heart-wrenching because you don't know that that's what they're showing you until they, like...
Until it's sold.
Right. And then you're like, oh! All of the goodness that I thought was happening, like all of the redemption is like just a fantasy.
Ripped away,
something that he wants, but everyone else doesn't care about him at all anymore because he lived that lifestyle and got pinched.
Yeah, all of his relationships with it and everything, and then his own boys turn their back on him and turn him in. Yeah, it's a very good movie.
I think it's also probably a little bit more sad to anyone who's been in that world of like. Or just, in the party community, to where you can kind of understand that, like, you've probably met people who have literally played out this story.
Yeah, or that are going to ruin their lives because they don't want to grow up.
Right. They just want to keep doing what's fun and making money illegally. And then eventually, it doesn't work. I
tell everybody, dude, if you live that life, I was talking to a kid about this at work one time. He asked me, or it was literally Friday, he asked me if I'd ever been arrested, and so we talked about, the dumb shit that I was doing when I was younger.
Right.
And so we were talking about that, and he was like, I asked him, he's younger, I think he's like 20. He's trying to play it off cool. He's like, no, man, I don't get caught for the stuff I do. And I just told him, I was like, look.
You will.
I get what mindset you're in. I said, if you stay in it long enough, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
I know people that didn't get arrested for the first time until they were 50.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do dumb shit long enough.
You go away a long time.
I mean, if you do dumb shit long enough, it's going to catch up with you.
It's just inevitable.
It's going to.
Yeah.
Blow. It's great
Blow's
movie.
Great movie.
Yeah, great recommendation on that one. Okay, so this one I know you're gonna love equally.
Yeah.
Definitely hits home for me. Makes me think of when I was in 5th grade, 6th, 7th grade, 8th grade. Just really thick into my like scene kid phase.
Like, as in, you can relate to the character at that point in your life, or it's nostalgic because you saw it.
It's nostalgic to me because that's when I was obsessed with it.
Okay, yep, go ahead.
It is a Tim Burton film.
Ooh.
Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
Gotta love Edward Scissorhands, man. See, I always do that. I'm like, what a good movie. But it just is.
Edward Scissorhands specifically is really good because it's all physical.
Yeah.
What does he have, like 2 or 3 lines in the whole movie? And it's
and they're not even. Yeah, it's not even. He doesn't really even say anything. I mean, there's a couple of parts where he does like briefly kind of talk, but
it's like 1 or 2 words.
It's It's like one or two words, and it is a heartbreaking movie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun.
It's
very
a fun
Lynchian
movie. Like, very Lynchian.
What do you mean?
So David Lynch is a film director.
Mm-hmm.
He did Blue Velvet, Eraserhead, The Elephant Man.
Okay.
Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
He coined a phrase which now people use as an academic term for film, which is Lynchian, which means to juxtapose beautiful imagery to the most grotesque imagery. So just the idea of Edward being placed into this very like Dr. Seuss kind of like suburban
cookie
town,
cutter 70s neighborhood.
It's just Lynchian by definition.
Yeah, it's so, Johnny Depp plays. He's a put together man. There was an old man who was his dad, quote unquote
creator.
Creator.
You don't know if it's like biological or like a Frankenstein.
I think
type
I
thing.
lean more towards Frankenstein. I think
like
he
a
was
creation.
Yeah, well, because in the very beginning it does show different stages of him. I feel.
Yes.
But he's Edward Scissorhands.
But there's no inception to him shown in the film.
That's true. But he was built unfinished. Remember, that's why he put the scissors on his hands, because he was
has to
unfinished.
be like a
He didn't have hands.
Frankenstein job.
Yeah, it's got to be a Frankenstein job.
Yeah.
But he's wearing like this tight leather BDSM suit the whole time.
Yes, it is.
And he's legit got these just massive shears for hands.
Yeah, like lawn cutters.
So one of the main characters is like a 70s mother who is peddling door to door.
It's Avon.
Avon.
She literally works
She's an
for
Avon rep.
Yeah.
So, she goes up to the manor and she knocks on the door and then she goes inside.
Which is such a funny
so ridiculous
scene too, because you're like, okay,
She's
suburban
like,
town, and then the house on the hill.
It's just this big black manor. It's not even so nobody goes there.
No.
It's like an abandoned. She goes there anyway, and she goes inside. She
doing
finds
her rounds.
Edward. Yeah, just doing her rounds. So she finds Edward. She feels bad for him. He doesn't talk. There's no one else around.
And I think the creator has died at that point. If
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
mistaken.
yeah.
So
Creator's
he's
dead.
just kind of like trying to take care of himself, and it's going poorly.
Yeah. So she takes him home, where she has a husband and a daughter and a little brother.
A son, yeah.
And pretty much just tries to immerse him in normal life, and takes him around house to house, and it's very like it's a very small community feel where like everybody knows immediately that she brought someone home. Who is it? What's the gossip? What's going on?
Yeah.
And so
It's very suburban socialite.
Yeah, he becomes
He's like a pet.
almost like a commodity. Like everybody wants to know him. Everybody wants to be a part of his life. He's super interesting.
Yeah.
He ends up falling in love with the daughter.
Yeah.
He kind of finds his niche, which is pet grooming and bush trimming.
What is it?
I can see her face right now.
Is it Winona or is it?
It is.
Okay.
It is.
It was either her or Juliette Lewis, and I couldn't remember which
yes.
one. Okay.
I'm almost positive.
I think it's Winona Ryder. Yeah. Because that's when they were dating / married. I don't remember if that actually ever happened.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know they were a couple for a while. I don't think they got married though.
But yeah, so he falls in love with her, and she's got a boyfriend and some shithead friends, and they kind of bully him.
Normal high school.
Yeah,
like,
almost. But it's normal high school, but it's like normal movie 70s high school where the bullies are like damn near down to commit murder, like crazy shit.
Yeah, what was that about?
I don't know, man. Like, yeah, I hope high school wasn't that rough in the 70s. Like, you gotta worry about someone stabbing you. Like that. I mean, school nowadays, you gotta worry about someone fucking shooting you.
Yeah.
But, so, the movie ends with Winona's character at the very end is talking to the little girl and telling him the story of Edward Scissorhands.
Right.
And then as it's panning out, you see the snow falling, but it's not actually snow. It's Edward up in the manor. And he's shaving ice sculptures.
Yeah.
Really good movie, artistic movie, I would say.
It's very artistic, especially.
It's Tim Burton.
Yeah.
It's got a very Tim Burton feel to it.
Yep. I would say one of the interesting things too is it doesn't follow any like conventional narrative structure.
It's very original.
It is very original.
Yeah.
It's because there's no explanation for anything.
Not
you just
really.
have to accept.
Kind of like, here you go.
Yeah. You just have to accept the world as it is, which is interesting because it really follows a specific academic film principle that I try and impress on everyone I talk to about, film and
I want to say
production.
we were talking about this last episode too.
Maybe. It's the whole idea of you cannot have more than one type of magic in a movie. Because
we did not talk about that. We talked about the hero's journey.
We
talked about...
Yeah, we did talk about that. So that's what I mean by like a narrative like structure. That would be like a writing structure. Whereas what I'm talking about with, it still falls into the same category. It's writing structure, it's academic principles for writing. But specifically in screenwriting, there's this principle that you can't ask for people to believe in more than one kind of magic.
Right.
Because you can get away with selling someone on this is the reality of the situation. But there eventually has to be logic applied to it, or else it just all seems like a fairy tale and thusly nonsensical. Like, it's very difficult to get any sort of emotional attachment to something that you feel is totally unrealistic. So even if you give a movie like a specific brand of magic, you have to make it logical in a sense. So like with this film, he seems to sort of be ageless. Especially at the end of the movie, you're like, okay, I guess he's just like immortal because he always lives.
He's ageless.
And then you also get this sense that sort of like, not only is he ageless, but just that like he has no social awareness, but he has like incredible like talents with the scissor hands and stuff like that. Because throughout the movie, he's making the sculptures out of the bushes. And
he's the pet groomer.
Right.
It's got a lot of really funny moments to it.
Yeah,
too.
but
him learning what he can and can't do with the scissors, like when he pokes the hole in the water mattress.
Yeah,
that's great. So he tries to plug it and pokes another
hole. Which, again, Johnny Depp doing great slapstick comedy with that kind of
without
stuff.
even muttering a word.
It's
all
so
facial.
Well, and it's something really interesting. I heard him talk about Edward Scissorhands in a really lengthy interview. It's like over an hour long, but it is a really great Johnny Depp interview. I think it's the only one on YouTube that's like over an hour. But it's basically like podcast format. He sits down and talks with a guy on a stage, and they do like this whole, I guess you'd call it like a lecture. And he said that to prepare for Edward Scissorhands, he took a bunch of Molly and taped like wooden like paint stirring sticks to his hands like they would be in the movie. And he said he to represent the scissors. And he said he just walked around his apartment super stoned on Molly, trying to do normal household things with the like fake scissor hands.
Dude, that's hilarious,
right? Yeah, he's just like, I got a house in Malibu, and I sat there and took a bunch of Molly, and then tried to make a grilled cheese. I don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right?
Yeah, that's really good. Which makes sense because there's a scene of him cooking because he's helping cook in the movie, and he like gets the knob of butter and slices it. So I can see Johnny
like
Depp
him literally practicing that.
Yeah, and like trying to smear it on toast and shit. Yeah, that's really good, man. That's a good little tidbit.
Yeah, so I think that there's probably some extra influence as far as like how he got to his character. But at the same time, I think it's a really interesting character choice. To come back to what I was saying about the one source of magic thing.
Oh, yeah.
It stems from his character. That's what makes it work.
Right.
Because he's the magical presence. So whatever he does is acceptable because he's the outside one, but everyone else is perfectly normal.
Yeah.
So it makes some logical sense because you look at him almost as like a god-type character, and everyone else is just like normal people. But there's no explanation for any of it. On top of the fact that you get a lot of emotional attachment through his interpersonal relationships.
Definitely.
But very, very, very good film.
Yep.
It's one of the first Johnny Depp movies I saw, too.
I would venture to say it's probably one of the first ones I saw as well.
Yeah.
Other than Outsiders.
Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting that he's even in that movie.
He was Soda Pop, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, here. The next one I'll bring up is a tangent off of that one. Crybaby.
Dude, I've never seen Crybaby.
Such a good movie.
So this is a learning experience for me.
So Crybaby is a John Waters movie. They eventually made a musical out of it, which is really cool. But Crybaby, John Waters weird director. Do you know about John Waters? Mm-mm. He's the guy with the pencil mustache. You probably know him if you saw him.
Probably.
He did the original Hairspray, like back in the 80s, I think, 84. He did Hairspray. You know what Hairspray is, right?
Yes, okay. Because I immediately am brought back to the first episode where I got Kevin Bacon.
And, and John Travolta.
Yeah, and John No.
Yeah.
Was that what it was?
Well, yeah, because he's in
the
modern Hairspray. Well, Kevin Bacon isn't in Grease either.
No, I know. See, I knew Grease was John Travolta.
Right. You thought Kevin Bacon was in Hairspray, I think. I think that's what it was.
He is in Hairspray, though, isn't he?
No.
Who's in Hairspray?
John Travolta.
That's John Travolta, too? Okay.
Yeah. John Travolta is playing a
woman. Which one is the Kevin Bacon one with the dancing?
Footloose.
Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
I was kidding. Okay, yeah, you're right. All right.
So John Travolta now.
Right.
So
Kevin Bacon.
So Johnny Depp.
There it is.
Okay. So John Waters did Pink Flamingos. Have you ever heard of that movie?
I've heard of it.
Okay. All of John Waters' movies, and he's critically acclaimed for this because he's one of the only people that did it. He was a Maryland-based filmmaker back in the like late 60s through the 80s. So he still makes movies now, but that was like the height of his popularity, I guess. He basically made like home movies, but they were disgusting. Like grossest shit you've ever seen. Like the ending of Pink Flamingos is a movie about two gross neighbors having a contest like in society that the local paper is like documenting on who can be the grossest human alive. So the last scene of the movie is Divine, who's a real-life drag queen, one of the first, who John Waters starred in a lot of his movies, just literally eats real dog poop, like on camera. And that's the ending scene of the movie. One part of the movie is
But in real life, he actually ate real dog shit?
Another part of that movie, Pink Flamingos, is two of the side characters have sex in a barn, but they put a live chicken in between them, and they like have sex until the chicken dies and bleeds out all over them, like real on camera. It's like a 20-minute long scene, like no cuts.
How the fuck was that even allowed?
It was the 60s. He just did it. He didn't ask for permission. He just made a crazy movie. And it's really what's interesting about John Waters is he's just so satirical. Like, he just does what he thinks is funny. Like, if it's going to gross someone out, he'll do it extra because he thinks that it's just funny to get a reaction out of people. In a bunch of his interviews, he said, like, one of his favorite pastimes is to go up to little kids and say terrible things to make them, like, run away scared. Like, he'll go up to a little girl and be like, you know, the monsters under your bed are real. Your parents just lie to you, and then walks away. Like, he's that kind of person.
Man, that dude's got some fucking issues, dude. I'm cool with saying fucked up shit to people, but like,
yeah, he's made like
a chicken to death.
Yeah, he just makes a sport out of like grossing people out.
I guess
he made another movie that I really like.
Crybaby.
Yep. So Crybaby is probably the most tame John Waters movie that he ever made, and it's all about this like it's a lot like Grease. It's a very 1950s story and concept.
I can see the cover in my head.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, but I can see Johnny Depp on the cover. And isn't Crybaby written in like a kind of chrome?
Yeah. Yeah. And he's got like the one tear. Yeah. And he's like slicked back hair.
Yeah.
So Crybaby, in essence, is a movie about a guy, Johnny Depp, who drops out of high school and is a part of a motorcycle gang that all lives at this one place. It's kind of like the OG Trap House. Like, it's just
this is some West Side Story shit.
So it's like a bunch of like these weird West Virginia like fucked up family members that he's a part of the family of. But it's a biker gang, and they just all live in one house together, and the house is huge, and they have like a stage, and they like put on little plays and music for each other. And Johnny Depp ends up like catching the interest of this very clean-cut, normal girl from his school. But when he dips out of high school, he's like, you know, leather jacket, riding a motorcycle. She thinks it's interesting. So she follows him out there and realizes that he's like a really cool guy. So they kind of have this like teenage romance that neither her family or his weird family are cool with, basically. And the whole story is effectively like a very like 1950s like teen drama in that sense, but it's funny because John Waters made it. And there's a lot of weird, just like screwed up stuff that happens throughout the movie. Again, movie's PG, but it's interesting for Johnny Depp because it's probably the lowest budget film he ever did in his whole career. If you watch it today, you're like shocked that they were able to release the film in the quality that they released it in.
Oh, is it that bad?
Like, the film is damaged. Like, you can tell that what they copied it from, like, was, like, exposed to the sun or something like that. Like, it doesn't hold up the way, like, normal 16 or 35 millimeter film would have. And I don't think they were shooting it on video. So, on Blu-ray, it looks like a VHS, is kind of my point. It's really interesting. It's definitely the lowest budget film Johnny Depp ever did, but it's a great movie, and it's really like quirky and fun to watch, but it's its own little thing. And it's really weird that Johnny Depp chose to do it. I think he just did it because he wanted to work with John Waters, which would make a lot of sense, just because Johnny's a weird guy.
He is a weird guy. Well, shit, dude. Maybe I'll check it out then.
It's worth a watch. It's definitely not like Academy Award winning, but it'll give you a flavor of Johnny Depp you've never seen. And it's young Johnny Depp.
Yeah, because he's done a lot. I'm torn on which one I want to bring up next. I mean, I know that we set the time limit and everything, but I also know we can't go through his entire movie catalog.
Get close.
Okay, all right, because this one's got meat to it, I suppose. I feel like a lot of people would agree, so I don't want to say it's an unpopular opinion, but this movie, I would say, rivaled the original with all due respect. Remake? And there's a lot of respect due. And that is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, interesting choice.
He gave you want to talk about being completely enveloped in a character.
Oh, yes.
I mean
excellent.
Him as Willy Wonka is insane.
Yeah.
Not only did he do a fantastic job paying respect to the original Willy Wonka in its like weird, charismatic way.
Yeah, very quirky.
But he takes it to another level.
He does. He makes it his own performance, which is great.
100%.
It wouldn't have worked if he tried to copy Gene Wilder.
Right, because Gene Wilder, that's why I say, like, it rivals it. I'm not saying it's better than the original, but I would say it is just as good.
They feel different.
They do feel different.
Well, and
Gene Wilder's was a little darker.
Yeah, and Johnny Depp's is way closer to the original book.
Yeah.
Just from, like, a narrative perspective.
I mean, In and Out, it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of fucked up undertones to it.
Yeah, there's a lot of weird
dark,
things.
Weird shit going on.
Yeah.
But honestly, and it's not even necessarily one of my favorite movies by any means, but
he's probably the best part of that movie.
He is the best part of it. But that's why I give him so much credit for it, because
carried that whole thing.
He did such a phenomenal job.
Well, him and his dad, who was the dentist or whatever, but he was Van Helsing. No, he wasn't Van Helsing. That was Peter Cushing. He was Dracula in all the Hammer horror films. He also played Count Dooku. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name.
Oh, it'll come to me. I got Peter Cushing, but I couldn't remember the more famous of the two.
Yeah, I don't think Charlie and the Chocolate Factory needs any explanation.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think everybody kind of knows what it is.
The worst part of that, can we talk about
absolutely.
What we don't like about that movie too, though? Because for me anyway, the squirrel scene makes me want to puke every time.
Really?
It just looks like a Looney Tune movie. If, like, for that one scene, it's like, okay, when's Daffy Duck showing up?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. But, you know, maybe that's just because I'm such a fan of the Gene Wilder one.
And I love the Gene Wilder one. I do. I think the reason why I say it rivals that one or is just as good is strictly based on Johnny Depp's ability to take a role like that. I mean, when you look at his catalog prior to that, and then you look at him jump into the role of Willy Wonka and the way that he executed it. I mean, it's kind of mind-blowing. I mean, he did play some, like, you know, some like oddball stuff here and there, like Edward Scissorhands. Yeah. But I mean, dude, if you were to show someone back to back,
well, it was also
Blow and then show them Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, you'd be like, this is the same fucking guy.
Yeah, true. Well, and the voice. I don't know how he found that voice.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello.
Yeah, because it's nothing like his real voice.
No.
Like, it's, like, weirdly not. Like, you wouldn't...
It's almost uncanny valley, like, in a way.
You
like,
listen to him speak, and then you... Like, if you heard his natural voice and Willy Wonka side by side... I would think
he's almost got an accent. Like, he's almost got, like, a weird British... American...
Like foppish kind of deal. Yeah. It's weird, but it doesn't seem natural that Johnny Depp could make that voice come out of him, but he does.
It's a great performance. On his side.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to breeze by one real quick. Okay. Because I have a second one to talk about. Yeah. Finding Neverland, probably the saddest Johnny Depp movie. What? Were you going to talk about that one?
Never seen it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
It's about the author of Peter Pan.
Right, yeah. And I put those dots together.
Yeah. It's just really sad because it's like, it's a cancer movie, basically.
Oh, shit.
And yeah, it's got, you know, it's like him and some little kids, and it's just all sad. Tragic as it was, it came out when I was like young enough, but also old enough to go see it in theaters. And I was a huge Peter Pan fanatic when I was a child. I like watched every version of Peter Pan. My mom took me to see it thinking it was going to be a Peter Pan movie. By the end of it, I'm just like bawling my eyes out. And she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know what this was going to be. And I was like, it's a good movie, but it's so sad. Even as a young kid, I was like, this is good, but I don't want to watch it now.
just a quick caveat to that.
Yeah.
So when Marley and Me first came out,
oh god,
my dad's ex-girlfriend Mimi, wonderful woman. She took me to go see it. Just me and her. It's like a bonding experience.
Yeah.
You know? So just her and I went to go see it. We think it's gonna be like this, just like fun. Owen Wilson, Jennifer Aniston, like dog movie. Well, it gets to the part where Owen Wilson is saying his goodbyes to Marley and Me, and I'm probably...
That is like one of the saddest moments.
I said to Marley and Me, to Marley.
Yeah.
So I've got to be 12 or 13.
Yeah, because...
I'm, like, now I don't give a shit because, you know.
Yeah.
But back then, like, it's not cool to cry, man. Especially, this is my dad's girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know, it's not even, like...
Your dad's a hard individual.
My dad's a hard ass. Like, if he saw me cry, I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
So, like... And she's not like that. She's a very,
I'm sure,
you know, kind, gentle woman. But still, I didn't want to cry in front of her. So I like pretended like I had to go take a piss, right? So I get up, I go to the bathroom. I get my shit together. No, this is the funny part. So I get my shit together. I make it look like I was never crying in the first place. And I was like, all right, bet. I walk back in, I sit down, and it's the fucking funeral scene.
Oh, God.
So I think I'm home free. Yeah. I think I am past the saddest part.
You just couldn't win on that one.
And then it's like them reading the notes to him and shit, and I'm just sitting there like, God damn it.
So, funny enough, when that came out on DVD, I got it as an Easter present.
Oh, what a terrible Easter present.
Because my family, like, they knew me.
Here's depression.
They just always bought me DVDs.
Yeah.
Because they knew it's the only thing I cared about. Yeah. So if a new movie came out that was, like, age appropriate, they'd just get it for me. They didn't care what it was. So it's like Easter morning. I'm upstairs eating a chocolate bunny and watching Marley and Me just crying my eyes out.
It's a great movie, but extremely. I cry right now if I watched it.
Oh,
it's depressing.
It's funny, too, because, like, I watched Old Yeller first, but Old Yeller...
I don't give a shit about Old Yeller.
Old Yeller didn't tear me up like Marley and Me did.
I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I don't care. I get more upset watching I Am Legend and he's got to choke out his own dog than I would Old Yeller. That's a rough scene for me, too, man.
Rough scene.
I was like, fuck.
Especially because that dog is
only friend.
Cool as hell, that whole movie.
Yeah.
So, I wanted to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street. I was breezing past.
I didn't even think about that.
As the Johnny Depp movie?
You talk about it.
It's his first movie, which is why you probably didn't think that.
Yeah.
Before, the only thing he'd done was 21 Jump Street, which he hated.
Yeah.
So he was trying to, like, give a middle finger to 21 Jump Street. He was trying to get fired from that show the whole time he was on it. But he's trying to give even more of a middle finger to it by going off and doing like a very stereotypical like horror flick. So the reason I bring up Nightmare on Elm Street, though, has nothing to do with Johnny Depp. It has everything to do with...
Robert Englund?
Well, yes, in a tangential way. Yeah. The Wes Craven, the director.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Wes Craven.
He is the reason that I went to film school. He's the reason I wanted to make movies in the first place. I saw Nightmare on Elm Street when I was at my uncle's house. I think I was like 10 or 11 years old, and I was just obsessed with the aesthetic of it. I loved Freddy as a charismatic bad guy.
Easily a funny charismatic bad guy.
So
Says
funny.
some of the most fucked up shit. But
like the delivery is so good.
Robert Englund cannot be rivaled.
No. Well, and you know what? It's interesting too because he's done some things that you might not think of. Like he's in the original X, which is a great sci-fi television show. But he also did a version of Phantom of the Opera, which I think is like one of the better versions of Phantom of the Opera. Not, related to the Andrew Lloyd Webber play or even to the original book. It's sort of like an adaptation of the original book, but set in like a modern world where it's like a little bit more fairy tale centric. But Robert Englund plays the Phantom, and it's amazing. One of his best movies, probably. But Nightmare on Elm Street, there was something about the way it was shot, the use of very practical effects that worked really well. I think that was really one of the magical points of Nightmare on Elm Street was everything was completely practical. The CG didn't exist. It would have had to have been like paint or stop motion at that time anyway.
Yeah, or like when he's walking down the alleyway and his arms are like super long.
Stretch out.
You can damn near see the strings tied to it. But like it's great.
But the way that they filmed that movie, it works, and it's still scary to this day. And it's one of the only ones from that era that's actually still scary to this day.
I concur, also, first off. But
the lore too.
Oh, yeah.
Is so depthy and interesting.
So good.
As like a narrative. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of all the OG
slasher
villains. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, love them all.
But Friday the 13th, in retrospect, feels the weakest out of all of them.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre for me.
Well, the first one's phenomenal.
I'm not saying it's not good. I think the first Friday the 13th is good.
Well,
but what I'm saying is
they trail off into shit after.
He's probably my least favorite of the 80s horror villains. Freddy Krueger, though. Easily top number one. Yeah. I mean, I love Jason. I love Chucky. Yeah. I love, I love Michael Myers. I love all of it. But, dude,
none of them have a personality, though.
Cool is it?
Yeah.
That you can't escape the man.
No.
First off, he doesn't exist. He's not real.
Yeah.
You can't just not sleep.
You got to pull him out of the dream if you want to prove it to anybody.
Right. So it's such a cool concept that he attacks you in your sleep. Yeah. And then as a viewer, as an audience member, there's no practicality to it. So a lot of people are like, okay, well, I would feel safer with some slow lumbering, Jason coming after me. I would feel safer that way because I'm at least going to try to blow his head off with a shotgun.
Right.
What the fuck are you going to do when you're being attacked in your dreams? So then as the viewer, you go home legitimately scared to go to sleep because you're like, fuck, dude.
And all of them, this isn't just a thing in the first one, which is the only one with Johnny Depp, sadly. They all play with your sense of reality. Yeah. Because you pretty much think but you never really know when it's a dream and when it's reality. Yeah,
it falls into that psychological thriller kind of.
I think that's one of the I like. Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream are my two favorite horror series.
I love Ghostface.
I do too.
Scream is up there.
Well, one of the reasons I like Scream so much is because it's not a fucking horror movie. It's a mystery movie.
And it's a whodunit. It's a legit mystery slasher.
Yes.
Through and through.
It's in my opinion,
and you can't kill him because Ghostface is just the idea.
The idea of Ghostface.
Yeah. You can't. Ghostface can never truly be killed.
Well, you can
just
always
the person
come back,
behind the mask.
at the very least. Yeah,
it's such a beautiful. You can make infinite Scream movies. That
you really
way.
well, and there's another one coming out soon.
It's already out.
Oh, it is,
and it's got your girl Jenna Ortega.
I
in it.
know.
Yeah, I have it on Peacock. If you want to come over one night and watch it, and maybe we'll do a little review on it.
Okay, I'll do it just for that.
Because then we could be like, it could be like an interview process. Fair. How do you feel about Jenna Ortega's performance in this?
We'll do a recap on Jenna Ortega.
Yeah.
Which I've watched a little bit more of her stuff since we recorded that, and I'm lessening my thing about her a little bit. I don't like... I think really what it is, I don't like her management because they keep wanting to present her a certain way, and it really ticks me off.
Yeah, as a 15-year-old girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, it's not cool to sexualize minors. Just not cool.
No, it's not.
And she's not a minor, but they're using this framing to make her appear that way.
I get
it, dude. It's gross and creepy, and I don't like it.
I get where you're coming from.
I wanted to boycott the new Scream just because Wes Craven isn't around to have any say on it. And
I know.
He's the one that made it good in the first place.
I
Even
know.
Scream 4, the one that everyone hates the most.
Which I didn't think was that bad.
Compared to the one that came after it in the TV series, all the shit that they did after he died, way worse than Scream 4.
Way worse. Yeah, way worse. Way worse. I'm not going to lie to you, though. I did watch the Scream TV show.
Did you really? I didn't watch any of it.
Just because I love Ghostface so much that I watched it anyway. And what I will say is this.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't like the character design because they did change the mask design.
Yeah.
Didn't really care for that. But
yeah, it looked like a scary movie.
Through and through a little bit, it did. It looks a little goofy. Through and through, the first season, not bad.
Okay.
The first season, legitimately, I would say it's worth watching.
Okay.
Second season,
Are there any twists or anything fun like that? Or is okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's essentially the first Scream movie turned into a TV show, and it follows that guideline.
Real quick, just since we're on the Scream, for a moment before we go back to Johnny Depp.
Okay.
Matthew Lillard's performance in Scream is one of my favorites of all time. I don't know how Wes Craven got that performance out of him because he's never done it in any other movie. He just looks goofy and like a little stupid skater kid. You know, he was in SLC Punk and like a couple of other okay 90s movies. And then he just did Scooby-Doo and went way downhill.
Yeah.
But man, in Scream, he like deserved an award for that one.
It is a great, I would say one of his best performances.
I'd say it's his only good performance, really.
He holds a special place in my heart just because of the Scooby-Doo movies.
Yeah,
he's a nostalgia guy for me.
And he seems like the sweetest celebrity. Like he
almost like a Dax Shepard.
Yes,
almost
or like a Keanu.
Yeah,
he's got that same vibe.
I feel like he wouldn't be pretentious, but
not at all.
You are right. He did a really good job at playing like the annoying, like not high strung in like a stressful sense, but he's just like very hyper and like just goofy.
Vivacious. Yeah.
And I love that even after he gets stabbed,
he's still just like kind of like,
just like, oh, my mom's gonna be so mad at me.
Like it's one of the best lines in that movie.
It is. It's just such a it's great.
It's so relatable too because the way that everything unfolds, you're like, this could have been my friend group in high school.
Yeah.
Like you just it feels so tangible, and the motive. First of all, it's really great, in my opinion, that they give like a whole cinephile explanation to everything in that movie. Like it's so like
Seth Green.
Yeah, like it's a movie lover's like movie. Like it's made for people who want to sit there and analyze movies because I mean that's what everybody in the movie does. But I love the line at the end where what's his name? Never remember his name.
David Arquette?
No, the guy who plays the long dark hair serial killer.
Oh shit!
He's got a weird name too. Like it almost.
He's in Riverdale. He plays Cole Spruce's dad.
I think he died recently, if I'm not mistaken.
What?
I'm gonna look up his name just because it's a weird name and I can never remember it because it's such an odd name.
Damn it! Now I'm trying to even remember the name of the guy in Riverdale that he plays.
Right.
Because it's a stupid name.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Riverdale's a stupid show.
Riverdale's an odd show.
I watched the very first
Skeet
season.
Ulrich. That's his name.
Skeet.
His name is Skeet Ulrich.
He
played Billy.
In Riverdale? No. Okay, in Scream. What
yeah.
is he? What's the dude's name in Riverdale?
God, I don't know. I'm looking through his stuff now. Here, I'll just go to Riverdale real fast. He plays...
I feel like it's just like a letter.
Yeah, that's probably it. I've watched 2 seasons of Riverdale, and I remember hardly anything about it. It was something my cousin really wanted to watch with us, and I really enjoyed what I watched of it. But
the first season was good. The second season was mediocre, and then it just falls off.
I think that's why I stopped watching it.
It's way too unbelievable. It's way too...
F.P. Jones.
F.P., that's what it is.
That's what he plays, yeah. So he does a really good job, but he has this great line in Scream where he goes... The scariest motive is that there is no motive. But what's interesting, though, is total bullshit in reference to his character. Because there's very clear motive the whole time.
Yeah.
But that line is so telling of how good the writing is. Because if you think about any of these like high school shooters or like, you know, people in real life who are like... would have been influenced by that, which there were real life killings.
Yeah, there were
2
of them, and they were fucking idiots.
Yes. They didn't work at all the way that the movie did. But Skeet Ulrich's character is totally a manipulator.
Yeah, 100%.
And he's a high school bully, basically. Mm-hmm. And he, you know, manipulates Matthew Lillard's character into doing all this stuff with him. He's like being this charismatic guy who thinks that he's doing the right thing. He's very much like JD in Heathers. Another really great 80s movie with Winona Ryder. But in Heathers, you know, it's sort of like this charismatic school shooter type. It's like, you know, very pre-Columbine, but that archetype of person.
Yeah.
And I think that his character is very similar to that in Scream, Skeet Ulrich's. But that's what he feels like to me. He feels realistic in the way that, like, he doesn't think that there's any motive to what he's doing. But if you just watch what he's doing... all of it makes total sense that he was the killer all along because he's the disgruntled one. He's the one that has these weird philosophies on everything and wants everyone else to do what he wants them to do and is magically in every social circle but also perceived as an outsider. He's a master manipulator in that movie. And that's one of the things that I think makes his character so interesting is like even in the way he describes the reason he kills to other people is still a manipulation because he's still going... I don't have a motive. But really, if you just watch the movie, you know that's totally not true. Yeah. So I just... Great writer-director, Wes Craven, because of him, wanted to become a filmmaker in the first place because of Nightmare on Elm Street, which... first Johnny Depp role. So
and one of the most iconic, influential movies in the horror scene that has ever been created.
Yeah.
One that is past its prime, in my opinion.
Oh, it didn't age well?
No. The first 3 are great.
Okay.
And then they should stop.
Okay.
And they're not going to. I'm sure you can guess. Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, so I was literally sitting here racking my brain.
Wait, when to say it?
Well, no. As to what movie Johnny Depp did that had that many sequels, and all I could think of was Alice in Wonderland. But it's because I separate Johnny Depp and Jack Sparrow so much. Because I just, as a character, Jack Sparrow is probably like one of my favorite fictional characters,
he's so
period.
Great. He's so great. Again, charismatic, funny. Even when he is being a selfish piece of shit, you're still
totally likable.
Yeah, you're still like, this is great. Yeah, but I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean, great movie. It's like it's not a time period piece in the sense of it's like boring and super historical and like anybody can get involved with Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's the most like blatant definition of swashbuckling I think I've ever seen in cinema. Like that's what it is.
It is so good. And it's got a great cast. I mean, you've got Orlando Bloom, you've got Johnny Depp, you've got
Rush, who is an incredible actor.
Which one is he?
Barbosa.
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
That's great. What's the chick's name?
Keira Knightley.
Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
Keira Knightley.
So
Great movie, man. I mean, I honestly, the first three, I love.
So good.
I'm not even one of those people who's like
the fourth
super
one's not
into
bad
pirates.
The fifth one sucks.
Which one's the fifth one?
The fifth one is where they replaced the girl, and they're like in London, and none of it makes any sense. Like,
I guess I haven't seen that one.
It's really bad. I've only seen the first 15 minutes of it, and I could tell why everyone hated it from that. That one's the one that has dude from No Country for Old Men in it. Javier Bardem. He's the bad guy in that one.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have not seen that.
It's not good.
Well, no, I don't think
I forget who he played. I think he's like supposed to be like Davy Jones. No, because that's the
Davy Jones.
No, yeah, I know. He's not Blackbeard, because that was the fourth one, and that one was actually pretty good, where they do the whole like pirate lineage where Keith Richards actually makes a cameo.
Yeah.
He's some legendary nautical bad guy figure that they revived from the depths of the sea to arg against Johnny Depp. It's just not very good.
Yeah, great movie though.
Black Pearl,
the very first one.
Yeah, is probably the best Disney movie ever made, in my opinion.
It's on up there. And that's even including the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, which you can really only kind of say is a Disney property.
I say it mostly as a joke, but
facetious at best.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I absolutely love Jack Sparrow. I love Johnny Depp. I mean, again, it does a great job at showcasing how talented Johnny Depp is as an actor. How goofy would most people feel? I don't care how professional you are. How goofy would most people feel trying to act like that? Well, I feel like it takes a certain kind of person to envision that this is how Jack Sparrow is going to be. I feel like a lot of people would have read the script and walked into that role trying to be this, like, maybe a little goofy and maybe like kind of like clumsy,
but more like quippy.
I feel like more people would have tried to be a little bit more quippy and kind of still hold on to that, like, well, I'm a pirate,
kind of masculine.
Yeah.
I think I've listened to him talk about how he created that role before, and I think he said that like he was up for the role but didn't think he was going to get it, and they wanted other people, and he eventually got the role, but then he like auditioned with how he wanted to play it, and they hated it. But he just kept like over and over again saying, no, this is how the character has to be. And obviously that worked.
Yeah, and it worked really well.
But that just goes to show that like he genuinely is a creative person as well, and really has a good sense of taste, because a lot of actors, they don't know if they're in a good movie or not. They read the script and they go, oh yeah,
I like it.
Right. But they really have no tangible sense of it, if it's going to be a good film.
Done.
Johnny Depp doesn't even watch his movies, and he knows it's going to be a hit before he signs up for it. Like, he's a tastemaker as far as the industry goes.
He is a man of talent, and he's very good at what he does. I'm hoping that, because whenever the Johnny Depp Amber Heard bullshit was going on, and
which was so fun. That was like a soap opera for me. I came home every day and looked forward to catching up on it.
Whenever he pretty much told Disney to fuck off and he wasn't going to do any more of the movies, I was like, yeah, man, fuck Disney. Like, I'm not going to watch a Pirates of the Caribbean movie without. Well, he did, but I was like, I'm not going to watch a Pirates of the Caribbean movie if it doesn't at least have Johnny Depp in it. Yeah. And then they were like, well, we're thinking of putting Margot Robbie in it, and I was like, well, maybe I will watch it. And so then Johnny Depp announced that he was coming back, which I had mixed emotions about at first, because I was like, man, you're kind of going back on your word. But then again, there was a large portion of people that were like, please. Yeah. This is my favorite franchise.
Don't kill
do it for the fans. Like, do it for the fans. And so like I kind of respect him for doing it, and I'm sure he's going to make $300 million off of it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm
Amber
sure
will get none of it.
Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna get paid a pretty penny, because Disney knows the importance of that franchise. Yeah, and Margot Robbie released a statement saying that she was still interested. So if they make a new one, she might be in it anyway, which would be super cool.
I think it's just cool that she picks the roles that she does, because the Barbie movie, totally out of left field, but she's perfect for it. I mean, it's obviously not out yet, but Greta Gerwig directing and Margot Robbie, and
yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I feel like it's got to be good.
It looks strange, but I know it's supposed to look strange. I think
it's gonna be like a
Wizard of Oz.
Oh, interesting. That could be a really cool take on it. I was thinking it was gonna be more like satire, like it's gonna be like the Barbie movie through like a really ironic lens.
And I think it is, based on the way they move and based on the way that, like, the snippets of like Ryan Gosling acting in it. It's very like programmed almost, like, hey, what are you doing? And then it's like they like stop for a second,
kind of Toy
like
Story
register. Yeah, there you go, very Toy Story. I saw, and it's not my theory, I wish I was smart enough to take credit for this. Don't remember where I saw it from, but somebody was saying they think it's going to be very Wizard of Oz, where Barbie gets removed from the Barbie world and is put in the real world, and has to kind of like either find her way back or learn how to function in the real world until she finds her way. Just something like that. I don't like
that. I feel like that wouldn't be as good.
I think it would have been a bop if it was the year 2003.
Yeah.
That's very early 2000s.
It's like Enchanted.
An idea.
Like literally it's Enchanted.
Yeah.
The way that
that movie existed.
Right. The way that I've been picturing it, just from the trailer, and I guess this is my own little theory, it was actually the reverse of that. I think it's going to be like the Lego movie. I think the whole twist is going to be that they are actually dolls, and that like people have been playing with them the whole time, and that's why they move like that and talk like that. I think it's literally going to be like the Lego movie. Like, it's Legos up until a point, and then it comes to the real world, and you're like, oh, this was all like an analog for what actually playing with a Barbie would be like.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. But that's my theory, judging by the trailer.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It comes out relatively soon.
Yeah, July 25th.
You want to do one more?
Yeah.
One more apiece? Because I got one, unless you name the one that I'm thinking of. Which
you go first, and if it's the same one that I wanted to do, then we'll just talk about it mutually.
I doubt it is, but he did an animated movie.
Yeah, it's not the one I was thinking. Go ahead.
He did an animated movie. We'll just talk about it briefly. It's a great movie.
Okay, yeah.
Corpse Bride.
Oh, I really thought you were going to go Rango, but yeah.
No, not Rango. I like Rango.
Rango's great. Yeah.
I like Rango, but I like Corpse Bride a hell of a lot more. Yeah, that's... Oof. Yeah, that is funny how they animate the behind the scenes, like him being goofy and messing up. Yeah, that's great. But yeah, Corpse Bride again. So it just brings me right back to like my fucking Seeing Queen days. Like, love the aesthetic of it. It's a beautiful story through and through.
Yeah.
You know, anybody who doesn't know the brief synopsis of it is, Johnny Depp is essentially to be wed to somebody who is not a bad person by any means, but he is kind of nervous about it, and so he stumbles out into the woods, and then he sees a ring, or he puts the ring, he's practicing his proposal, because it's a very intricate proposal. It's set in like old England, so he's practicing his proposal. He slides the ring on what he thinks is like a tree branch, and it ends up being the corpse bride's hand on her ring finger. So she becomes reanimated. Yeah, she's alive again. They go to the underworld. It's just a great story. It's really movie. Fun. It's not scary, but it's got I'm really into like the dark goth aesthetic.
Yeah, it's gothic horror.
Yeah, I mean it's great. It's just a great movie. Addams Family would be comparable to like the kind of vibe or whatever. It's got hints.
Tim Burton.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like that is. I think even critically, like unequivocally, that time period of like Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, that Frankenweenie and all, that Coraline. That's
another great one. Coraline just got put on either HBO and Netflix.
Ooh.
I'm gonna watch that.
Yeah.
Peak Tim Burton. Great movies.
Yeah.
Tim Burton's good at everything he does.
Yeah.
For the most part.
He really is, though. Even the Batman movie.
Yep.
Loved Batman Returns. And the original Batman. With, why am I blanking on who?
What horror movie did he do?
He did do a horror
Freddy
movie.
Krueger movie. Didn't he do the 2010?
No. That was a remake. I think
That was awful.
It was awful. I think he may have
What horror movie did he
produced that. I'll look. Because Tim Burton, he's got a really odd career.
Weird cat, man.
Weird cat. He's got he did a lot of movies that you don't realize he did. Too.
Yeah, we should do a Tim Burton episode, or we should do like a Tim Burton solo video, or like we'll do like a small video on it or something. Yeah, Beetlejuice, great movie.
He's worth covering because, like, I mean, again, like things you don't even think of him being associated with, he totally did, and you're like, okay, well, that's cool, I guess. didn't realize that. Let's see. For some reason, it doesn't want to let me click on director credits. Sweeney Todd, he did.
Another Johnny Depp movie.
Yeah, another Johnny Depp movie. Which, I mean, fair enough. He worked so much with Johnny Depp over his career. Big Fish. I always forget he did Big Fish. Sleepy Hollow.
Sleepy Hollow. Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
That's a really cool Johnny Depp movie.
Really good movie.
Ed Wood is one of my favorite films of all time. I can't believe we didn't bring that up. Fuck. Okay.
Never seen it.
Hold on. I got to talk about Ed Wood for a second. Because Ed Wood is like, not only is it Tim Burton, not only is it Johnny Depp, but man, is it one of the best biography movies ever. It's about the director Ed Wood, who was considered the absolute worst director in film history. He made Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is hot garbage. And he worked with Bela Lugosi a lot because Bela Lugosi was a heroin addict who was like basically just withering away in a tiny little house in Hollywood. So he was able to get Bela Lugosi, big name because he was Dracula in the 30s, to be in these popcorn crap fests in the 50s that Ed Wood was making. Then, on top of all that, Ed Wood is married and is a secret transvestite. And this is all true to real life. So the first movie Ed Wood made was actually it was trying to be a biography about the first transsexual, first person to ever have a sex change operation. And that movie was horrid. And then he went on to make a bunch of sci-fi movies, which are terrible. But what makes Ed Wood the movie so good that Tim Burton did with Johnny Depp plays Ed Wood incredibly well. A very like Howard Hughes kind of salesman, but smart and quick. And you think that he should be able to make a good movie, but he just has no taste for cinema. He thinks like a businessman. He just wants quick. Like one take of everything. Like it's all he would do. Wouldn't pay for a permit to go shoot in public. And the whole movie is basically like him trying to deal with the fact that he's like a secret transvestite and that his wife doesn't like that, and there's that whole dynamic. But then the other portion of it is that he's trying to like coax Bela Lugosi out of his heroin addiction for the whole movie. And Bella ends up dying like 3/4 of the way through the movie, and it just destroys Ed Wood. But it's a filmmaker's movie in the way that like you kind of have to have an appreciation for like terrible cinema in order to understand why it's so good. But like it effectively is like it's one of the most clear-cut, true biography films ever made. Like it's just there's a really especially poignant scene in the movie where he's sitting. Ed Wood is Johnny Depp is sitting at a bar and he accidentally meets the dude who did Citizen Kane, Orson Welles. He accidentally bumps into Orson Welles, and Orson Welles basically tells him like, you know, if you keep working, you'll be like me one day, which is comical in the movie because it sends him down this sort of spiral of narcissism, thinking that he's making art, and what he's really making is like some of the worst movies that have ever been made. Yeah. It's really funny, but it's also really touching, and it's all in black and white, and it's Tim Burton in the early 90s, very like Edward Scissorhand time period. Great movie. It's one of those that I have watched like hundreds of times maybe at this point, just because I like it so much. For a filmmaker, I think it might be just one of the most interesting movies on movies to watch. So, Yeah, Ed Wood's great.
It sounds interesting.
Yeah. Fear and Loathing is the one that I wanted to talk about with you, though.
Oh, man.
Mutually. Because that's such a great movie.
Dude, it has been so long since I've even seen that movie.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's kind of like a weird one to follow, too.
Yeah. That might be my favorite Johnny Depp movie, period.
Really?
Mostly because he lived with Hunter S. Thompson and became almost completely identical to Hunter S. Thompson. To the point where, he made Hunter's funeral happen. He fired him out of a cannon on a mountaintop because that's what Hunter S. Thompson put in his will. They were best friends until the day he died, basically. And the whole movie is fiction mixed with reality, mixed with drug-induced everything. And it's just a great piece of cinema. I can't think of a more expressive work. And I'm not mistaken, I think it's a Terry Gilliam film. I'm going to check on that because Terry Gilliam was associated with Monty Python.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that movie since I was probably like 14 and paying no attention to it.
Yeah, it's one of those that like it'd be very easy to just kind of it's a Terry Gilliam film. It's very easy to just kind of get baked and zone out to, but it's a fantastic movie. Guillermo del Toro, or is it Guillermo? No, it's it is no, it's Benicio del Toro. Sorry, Benicio del Toro, who is in The Way of the Gun and a bunch of really good movies. Tobey Maguire is in it before Spider-Man. Yeah. Let's see if there's anyone else really worth mentioning. Mark Harmon's in it. That's funny. I forgot about that. But yeah, I mean, it's a drug-fueled rampage through Las Vegas, and it's all about a writer who's supposed to be covering a motorcycle race, but gets too stoned to be able to do that, and loses all track of time and reality, and he's supposed to be there for like a week, and it ends up being like several months that he gets stuck in Las Vegas because he just like brings so many drugs with him that he just loses track of everything. He just is doing mescaline until he blacks out for like weeks on end. And there's like Benicio del Toro plays his lawyer, who is like the worst lawyer of all time, and like advises him to do the dumbest crap, and like it is a fever dream with Johnny Depp as the star and a amazing classic rock soundtrack with really trippy visuals. And it's because of all those things, it's probably like my favorite Johnny Depp movie, period.
I know it's got a huge following.
Yeah,
I've been meaning to watch it for a long time.
Well, we should watch that one together as well. Because I don't think there's ever been a time when I wouldn't want to watch that movie. It's just so damn good.
Yeah, dude, I'm down.
Cool. Was there anything else you want to touch on before we leave?
I think we pretty much nailed it.
I think this is a solid episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good. Well, in that case, this has been
the
Just
After
Midnight
podcast.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
After